Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 292, and today we're going to be doing battle with Illaoi Kayn. And so, if you're a daily follower, you did get to see this deck in action in the previous video. We've taken it to the past two daily rumbles, and we got the 6 wins in both of those. And so the deck has some merit to it. It has some power to it, and so I was wanting to bring it to one of the latter videos that we do here. And so the way that this has kind of come about is Illaoi did just get buffed in the recent patch. Illaoi got some bonus stats. Tentacle Smash costs 1 less mana. The Nagakaboros caught an upgrade, and then the only downside being what you called Eye of Nagakaboros is now a focus instead of a burst. And so overall, a pretty big upgrade to Illaoi's kit. And then the other piece of the equation is Kayn just got nerfed. I don't think Aatrox Kayn is a particularly good deck anymore. Kayn now needs 4 cultists to get the natural draw. And so it's kind of finding a home for what is still a very powerful champion and a very powerful faction, if you will, in the cultists. And so whenever you are looking to assemble an Illaoi deck, you can very quickly kind of surmise a lot of strengths and weaknesses to it. It's very good at putting stats under the board quickly with the combination of the Tentacles and the Illaoi. And then it's also very good at smashing through defenses with a couple of 10 power overwhelm units. But outside of that, there's not a whole lot of power within the Bilgewater faction. There's not a lot of interactivity. There's not a lot of good early game units. There's not a lot of good late game units. It's just outside of this kind of singular package of having a big, strong, overwhelmed suite. The faction doesn't do a whole lot, and that's what we're looking to get out of the Kayn. Kayn's cultist suite just kind of adds everything in. Has a nice early game play in the Forsaken Bakai, and so we aren't just limited to the single tentacle cards. It has good protection with the Expanse's protection, and then the Momentous Choice is the best combat trick in the game. Got a nice removal spell in the Furious Wielder, and then the Unforgiven Cold is very good on offense if we're protecting our champions, very good on defense, shutting down other Illaoi-style decks. And so lots of real power, lots of good synergies coming from the two champions. These days, you're currently seeing Illaoi run around a lot with Demacia, which just gives her access to the strikes and to some moderately okay combat tricks, or you see her paired up with Ionia. Let's give them a little bit of punch with the likes of Syncopate and Ghost, and then a little bit of protection with Deny and combat tricks. And so there are some other ways to kind of go about using Illaoi, but I've been pretty interested in fitting Kayn into the equation, because in my opinion, when you see the other decks, the champions just aren't very good, right? I don't think pairing Illaoi with Jarvan is that impressive. Not to say Jarvan's not good, I just don't think he's good in that deck. If you're looking at Illaoi with Ionia, you're just pairing her off with Twisted Fate, and you're really kind of sacrificing the power that you get out of the champions, and there's no denying that Kayn is an exceptionally powerful champion. And so, this is the deck. This is what we're going to be doing battle with today, and we do have a nice pay-to-win price on the day. It looked like the Expanse's protection ready to go, ready to catch that premium treatment, ready to keep our Illaoi safe when she's going for the big OTKs. And let's see if it happens. See if we can't jump on in, get some big victories here. And so yeah, this is an interesting deck. We talked about it quite a bit in the previous video going through the Daily Rumble. It doesn't perform particularly well against aggro. So if you're running up against things like pirates, you're not going to have a particularly good time. The way that the matches tend to go is, you get your 10-10 Tentacle and you get your 10-10 Illaoi on the board. That looks really great. But then your opponent just has like 6 3-attack units on the board, and they're still able to attack for 12. And so you don't do super well against those. You don't do super well against like just the ultra removal heavy control decks like we're going to see here with Swain. But you're able to handle all of the mid-rangey decks of the format pretty well. And so here, I'm going to hang on to the Eye of God. This is one of the more important cards in these style of matchups. If we're able to kind of grind out a bunch of tentacles, we can kind of come at them with a bunch of 3/3s and the like to not have just one giant tentacle, but the kind of persistent strength of a bunch of them. And we'll see if we can't get some magic happening here. And so this is a bit of a scary play. We're going to go ahead and drop the Eye of God. If opponent has like a pokey stick, this is really going to hurt, but we don't have anything else to really do here. It's not a great place to be dropping hired guns, and so I think it's okay to just risk spending the mana. We can still build up nicely into the next turns. If he tries to say, like, drop Nora next turn, we have a Tentacle Smash. We can kind of interact with what they're doing, but it would have been nice to get the big get the big start in there. Like, this isn't a good matchup. We need something to go right along the way. So let's just go for it, you know? Sure. Ooh, this guy's playing all kinds of the pings. You don't typically see all of these running through. The Poison Dart. All right, though. Time for the hired gun. See if she can't get a tentacle on the board. Everybody's trying their best, you know. Trying to get a spawn out there. He snapped that one off too. I'm curious what that would have been. The big problem that you run into against the Noxus decks is they have access to Scorched Earth. They have access to Disintegrate. And so if you get the giant tentacle, they have the way to still take it down pretty easily. But then even cards like Ravenous Flock are just so effective at killing our units that it's pretty tough to get away from all of the stuff they're doing. You would think that we're going to be good against a Nora deck since we can crash through all of their portaled units, but it's a bit of a weak point in that they have all of that Noxus removal. Try and get our big friend Kayn on the board. Didn't pan out, but we can still add in Twisted Fate, look to add in another Eye of God. See if we can't finally get some of these tentacles going. Got a cat that keeps walking underneath my feet. I can already tell I'm about to get pissed. Usually we'll just go outside.
We made it. Yay. But our stuff did it.
There we go. Master Cat Wrangler FTP bust, getting the business done. But let's see what we can do. Not a bad set of attacks here. The downside with taking Kayn into the Aloof Travelers is that he can then still have Kayn with a point of damage on him at the end of the day. But it's not gonna come to fruition either way. So we'll take the Kayn into the Conchologist, so he's nice and healed up at the end of combat. But this is pretty disastrous. We're exceptionally far behind here. Right. Looks like it's going to be a sad day for Kayn. I don't think he's going to be surviving whatever's happening here. If we take ourselves a little bit carefully, we can look to Furious Wielder away his unit if he drops a spell on it. Then he'll return to hand and be a little bit safer. So something to watch out for here. We'll probably just have to let this turn pass.
Home is just around the portal. Skip and a hop.
Well, I think I'm okay to let Kayn go. Well, I was thinking. Well, my thinking was off. I was like, well, he's going to be able to serve. Like, if he has a Scorched Earth, they typically only play one copy. And so we can kind of deal with that being a thing. But if he's going to come at us with a... if he's going to come at us with like a Ravenous Flock, then that's going to be a problem. I think we need to leave the Kayn at home. We're getting at least a nice build-up here to where we can Tentacle Slam if we want. And then have some strength coming out of these Illauis and Seize Voices. He's tapped pretty low on mana at this point. I think this turn's actually going to pan out. I feel like we're going to attack with Kayn and he's going to Ravenous Flock in the middle of combat. We'll lose something to the Leviathan, but we should be able to kind of team kill it with the units that we have here. Ooh, are we going to get it right now? This is pretty sweet if we get to wielder the Leviathan and then come at it with the fresh cane. Yeah. Okay. That's pretty painful. You know what's not good? It's trading 9 mana worth of spells for 2. I'm pretty certain that that Ravenous Flock, if not removed from the game, is going to be on the chopping block for the next set of nerfs. But we'll see. We'll see. This a disintegrate for Illaoi? Yep. Pretty painful. Alright, so he's going to be able to come at us with Swain this round. We have the Frostbite to power through this turn a little bit, but as we go into the next turn and he's starting to get the Swain stuns, we're not going to be able to survive all that. So we'll go ahead and push through. That game was over like 3 turns ago, but we had a nice build-up on that last turn to where we could have potentially gotten ahead. But terrible matchup. As we were playing in best of 3, that was just an automatic ban whenever we played against the Nor and Noxus decks. All right, another gem of Ravenous Flocking up against Katarina Gwen, and this could be a bit more of a toss-up. We'll have to see just kind of how aggressively opponent comes at us. We'll have to see if they're playing the opulent Foyer deck or if they're playing the more standard grindy, reanimatey kind of version of this. If we don't have to deal with a ton of early game aggression, then we get a little bit more strength in these matches.
Who's on top of the bounty board today?
All right, gotta shut down some of this though. Can't let him go wild completely out here.
Ooh, got some fight in ya.
All right, so we do have a bit of protection on this upcoming turn for our Tentacle, right? We can still look to drop in the Eye of God. We get protected with the Momentous Choice should we need it, and we should start getting pretty good attacks here with having the big boys on board. He brings in Foyer, that's fine. I'm still going to grow our Tentacle.
You point, I shoot.
All right, and then he's out of mana at this point, so we can look to drop the Watchful Idol. If we had like a couple mana backed up, we could look to save for a Riptide Sermon. It is kind of nice to be able to Riptide Sermon a Katarina should she come down, but that's for a later turn. It's not for right now. Sure thing, boss. What we got here? Something cool? It's tough. Like I like having the Expanse's protection, as we're pretty all in on this Tentacle at this point. But it doesn't. We need to find either an Illaoi or a Sea's Voice if we're going to close out this game. And so it's kind of tough. I guess the way we can kind of look at this is next turn, we're probably just going to burst out the Eye of Nagakaboros and attack. It would be a little bit better if we knew what units we were going to be facing, right? If he doesn't attack with the Spiderling here, then it's much better for us to have that Expanse's protection, but we'll see. Not really interested in trying to... Ooh, that's interesting. That played out pretty awesome for us. There's, I guess, some reason to kind of go for it if you're playing Scorched Earths, but that seems like a highly suspicious play to me. Losing out on the blocker there is fairly painful. Not a very nice thing to do, my friend. Not a very nice thing to do. You got the Vile Feast to go with it? Nope. Nice. Okay, okay, nice build up. Now Illaui's here to party. Uh-oh. that doesn't look as good as I wanted to. Alright, so he can, like, Shunpo rally for the turn, which would be fairly disastrous, but he can't Katarina rally here, which is the big thing. And so I'm just going to drop the Illaoi. We're just going to look to end the game next turn instead of playing the Kayn. We'll see how it turns up with this follow-up play here, but I feel like we're reasonably safe. Like, how many Scorched Earths is this guy really going to play? Has the Shunpo. Okay. That is not the advisable way to attack. So we should be able to block one with a Tentacle here. It's still going to be strong enough to survive a Ravenous Flock. Let's see what happens. Ooh, Illaoi turns up. I'm trying to think, does this deck play Arachnoid Sentries? If it doesn't play Arachnoid Sentries, then we can still just play Illaoi, right? She'll still get the bonus even if the unit comes on board. It takes a bit of work. Maybe we should have just opened, but at least feels a little bit safer going this way. All right. GG. I think we got away with one on that previous turn, though. It seems a little bit stronger to be attacking with, like, 2 6-attack units instead of 1 12. Like, just... We didn't have to have the Illaoi there. I guess that leaves him in a spot to where we maybe block the 2 attack with Illaoi and the other 6 attack with our Tentacle, and then only take 6 and have both units. So maybe that was the angle there, but that seemed kind of strange to me. Now here, this one's tough. Up against Darius Nar, Twisted Fate's one of our few ways to come in and stun one of the big overwhelms, but I mean, I don't think that's really our game plan here. I don't want to be playing defensively in this match. We're just going to get smoked if that's the case. So we'll send him away. What up, rear guard? You're not the unit we're wanting to see here today. It's odd seeing this as a Darius Nar. It's typically just like Bone Club Darius coming out. We're about to get smashed. So we'll take the 6 hit. We need to save up for the Tentacle Smash to be able to take one of these things down. Just blocking with a single unit doesn't do anything here. What you got for us, deck? Something good? I think it's like we really need this Unforgiven Cold, but we don't have any equipments at this point. I mean, I guess it's okay with Twisted Fate, but these are tough. Let's just pick up the Unforgiven Cold. We're not going to play these for like 2 or 3 turns, and we're going to have to Eye of Nagakaboros, so maybe that'll turn out.
Make the Empire proud.
Good job, Tentacle. Way to do some surviving. We're going to have to trade it away next turn, but maybe we'll get Illaoi on board before we have to trade it and help level her up a little bit. He thought on that for a while. I wonder if he has an Elixir of Wrath. That's a card that these decks have played to some degree. So we just go for the kill on the Tentacle, perhaps. But this is the kind of space to where you're really getting burned by Eye of Nagakaboros no longer having the burst. You know, if we could burst the Tentacle to have the +2 stats and then block block his friend down here at the end, would be much stronger than what we're able to do here. He did have the Elixir of Wrath. Interesting. Just going ham. Says, look at all my damages, friend. That's going to take us to 5. Okay. It's like I want to drop the Unforgiven Cold, but I feel like we're just going to have something go right here. So maybe we'll end up dropping it down next turn or on the next attack. We're at least out of Decimate range here, so that counts for a little bit, but the way this board's going, we gotta have something work. Alright, I'm just gonna take the mana effective way here. Ideally, we attack with Illaoi. He never interacts, then we get to just drop a Tentacle Slam onto something else. Looks like it's gonna be the friend Imperial Demolitionist, and then if we line up on board, that's great. And if he only has like more units here, we can at least stop one with the Unforgiven Cold. We don't have any equips up to this point, so it's not going to be a double Frostbite, but he like taps out for Darius this turn, and that's going to be at least a positive. We're gonna need another one of these here a little bit later. Alright, that'll take us to 2. I'm just gonna take the effective blocks here. We're taking some amount of damage either way, so we're just gonna die to a Nox and Fervor. We're gonna die to a Decimate as it is. So let's just hope something goes right. Looks like he has the Nox and Fervor to go for the kill. Even a Reveler's Feast would kill us here, so. We're at like that 1% stage. We have to have something just go right to get a victory here. Interesting. All right, well, let's see. Let's start with this Eye of Nagakaboros. We're going to be playing it, and we're going to be playing Kayn, but maybe we pick up something interesting along the way. Are these more interesting than Kayn? Like, we probably need to play the Forsaken Bakai and see if we can't just pick up a... pick up another Frostbite, right? Might as well take a bunch of chances at it if we can. It's not what these cards are. And a Saboteur. Okay, I don't see a way out of that one. It's a little bit too much, but that's what I'm talking about in the sense of playing against pirates. When they start spreading all that width on the board, we're not particularly good at preventing the width from hitting in for the damages. The Nox and aggro decks are just pretty abysmal in every sense. Winnable, sure, but it's not. It has to be like probably pushing 60% are in their favor. I think the most common way that those matchups go well is if you just have like 3 1-drops. If you can play like double Tentacle Maker and a Predict guy, then that gets you kind of on track. Or if you're able to play a 1-drop and then have the Eye of God and start to generate tentacles that way. But if you ever have to, if you find yourself playing Tentacle Smash on like turn 2 or turn 3, then the game is not going how you intended. All right, the game break though. What's the deal here, Riot? Get it together. All right, well the game broke. It crashed. We restarted. We're back in. Let's see if it works now. What do we got? Oh, Rise. Okay. It's like the deck tracker broke though. Life's hard, man. I don't know. I don't know if you're familiar with how hard life is, but it's very hard at this moment. But right now, we just need to pick up some tentacle stuff. We need to get our early game build up happening. This is most certainly a deck where we're the aggro against Rise.
The spirit gives to those who listen.
I deal in coins and carnage.
Let's get the battles started. So look out, dude. Oh, it's it's the less exciting way in the Sea's voice. I was gonna be like, look out, dude, here comes the Darkened Harpoon. We're gonna get the big takedown onto the Eye of the Dragon, but he disagreed with the way that should sequence. Let's picked up the spell mana for sure. I think we want to hit the Eye of the Dragon with the Tentacle, and this is going to just leave a little bit of health back on our Sea's voice. The opposing deck against Rise typically doesn't play combat tricks, so we'll have to see what he's coming at us with. But I suspect this is typically, if he has a way to kill our Tentacle, it's like a concussive palm. It's not a...
You lack subtlety.
Oh, interesting. The Claws of the Dragon coming in. That's okay. Losing out on the Overwhelm hurts a little bit, but we do still have the Darkened Harpoon to potentially attack through all of these units. But up against Rise, never really care about the damage. That's not such a big deal. The question is going to be, do we want to get Illaoi down? I think we want to keep the Watchful Idol back. We'll Tentacle Smash here. Hopefully we win. If this soaks a deny, then fine, whatever. And then next turn we can play both the Harpoon and the Illaoi. So if this does go wrong, if he does have a deny or something, ideally we can still just give the Tentacle Fearsome and he's not going to be able to block it. Okay. We'll still stick with that mana the way we were doing it here. We'll see if we can't surprise him with the Harpoon. I wasn't expecting Homecoming, though. It's like I knew we were safe in the sense that he couldn't get us with a... The fuck? Tasty Feyfolk. I knew he couldn't get us with the one that destroys equipment. But... Interesting. No reason to play the Harpoon here, though. Like, I guess you could look to use it to a degree in the sense that it can draw a card next turn. I don't think that's a big piece of importance at this stage. All right, Rise in action.
Man will always fight and always die.
That's pretty heavy, dude. Man will always fight and always die. Oof, Rise, my dude. He's so heavy. Interesting thing here, we could potentially Unforgiven Cold, and then he can't block with Rise either. I don't think that's going to be in the cards for this round, but something with some potential. Ooh, Furious Wielder as well.
You point, I shoot.
Our Tentacle's currently sporting the equipment, so it should be a pretty big Furious Wielder if we need it, but I think we need to look more towards the Expanse's protection here. This isn't like the turn, the big turn, but it might turn out to where we want to get the protection for this round. If it's just like a stun on the Tentacle, I don't really care, but if it goes back to our hand, that's a bit of a scarier thing. Maybe that's okay. Maybe we look at him if he plays like a the 5 mana thing, the Unworthy Soul. We still just take the opportunity to dome his Rise. I think this is okay. unfortunately lose our Darken Harpoon. That's not a statement I don't think too many people thought they were going to hear today. Unfortunately losing our Darken Harpoon. But here I'm going to drop the Tentacle just so we can pick up the stats. Ideally, we'll be able to win with this Expanse's Protection on the next attack, trying to boost up our Illaoi. Big ol' Riptide Sermon. What you got for us? That's the Rune Prison. Let's see what turns up. I don't think we're going to be playing Riptide Sermons here. Momentous Choice is kind of interesting just because it's so cheap. I don't think that's probably the space we're in, though. Let's pick up the Sea's Voice. If he starts playing units, then we're going to want to have access to that Overwhelm. Maybe not. That was wrong. I was thinking that we were just going to draw it, which is not the case. All right, here comes the sermon. that's how you get him, isn't it? When you're spending your 6-mana Riptide Sermons onto Otterpus, then you know something's happening. Something positive's going on out here. Uh-oh. As we got the Spell Shield. I think we're still okay here. It's going to take a lot of work from him, even with the Rune Prison in hand, to stop what we're bringing.
Don't stand in my way.
All right. We got him. GG. So, man, I didn't get the chance to say. I hope we're all celebrating as you're watching this video. The Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. I've got another 8 hours or so before that starts to let the stress begin to see if the local team wins the big sports ball event of the year. But hopefully it does. Hopefully we have a nice little victory for the Chiefs. You all are out there celebrating as well. having an all-around pretty good day with it. So let's see here. I think we can hang on to this whole hand. I'm curious how aggressive Lucian Gwen is going to be. We could probably get rid of the Expanse's Protection. It's going to be a little bit too slow. But if we look at this hand and say, well, we're going to play the Hired Gun on 2, then on turn 3 we can equip with the Eye of God and potentially get some good combats, and then have Illaoi on turn 4. I think that's all reasonable.
Success gets noticed around here. Make it worth my
Still
while.
bringing it. See if we get another good combat on this next turn. With the second Hired Gun. This is the kind of space to where we could have potentially dropped in Expanse's Protection, but doesn't strike me as ultra necessary. There shouldn't be too much removals coming out of this opposing deck. All right, that classic Bilgewater interactivity package, the Hired Guns coming at you. That's all we're allowed to bring out here.
We move against fear, against doubt.
Not my first gunfight.
Okay. Man, you remember the days when Riptide Sermon dealt 4 damage? It was able to kill all kinds of cool shit? It's so nice being able to take down Gwens and stuff with that, but not anymore. Not anymore. But pretty good attack here. Both our Tentacle and Illaoi are bigger than Gwen. If she wants to block the Hired Gun, it's not that big of a deal at this point. We can look to Tentacle smash her down, and then we still have the Expanse's Protection in the back. So we should be pretty safe after this turn.
First time, madam. I suppose it's rather novel.
I should never tire of something so grand.
Curious if we should have let Gwen stand, and then on the next turn, just look to Riptide Sermon. Right? It's like she's in that kind of magical space to where we can actually kill a 3 health unit, but It feels like a little greedy, a little dangerous. I think if he has to like invest all of his mana this round into Gwen, like we should be pretty safe. All right, this one's done. We are good to go. Okay, so we still get the stats here. This is okay. We have the mana to put the Sea's Voice on board and then be protected with the Expanse's protection. I haven't talked about this one. This is at least another kind of interesting space to where you can, say, put a Darkened Harpoon onto the Sea's Voice to keep it a little bit protected. Keep it out of combat a little bit, and so not going for that. And then I didn't mention the way that the Eye of the God works. We can talk about that as we go into this next game, as to where it's very important the unit that you put your Eye of God onto, whether or not it's going to be kind of like a protected tentacle or if you're going to try and put it on Illaoi, because that then also ties into what you're able to Furious Wielder. But if you have the Eye of God on Illaoi, that's kind of the important one. The way that her attacks are going to go is she attacks, she does the spawn thing, she does the bonus health thing or the bonus attack thing. That happens as kind of one piece, and then the Eye of God happens after the fact. And so the +2/+2 to the tentacle doesn't come into effect until after the stat bonus thing happens. But here's a deck on the rise. Been starting to see a lot of Tristanas running around. The Tristana Nar Noxus deck is the more common of the two, but this Shadow Isles one is starting to make appearances as well. But they both play the very similar Bandle City package. They have a little bit of the fairies. They have what are they called? They start to have the Bandle City Mayor. And then the Shadow Isles version starts to play like the impact units. They're both just like really go wide decks. But not too much in the ways of removal. I think we can probably Tentacle Smash here. We can go for the second one. It's not as ideal. We're actually really hoping for an equipment here, but didn't turn up. Quietus. People still playing Quietus, my man. Who does that? Am I right? So this would be okay. You kind of have to watch yourself against these decks with the removal spells when you drop your Tentacle Smash. If you imagine that he had a 2/2 that we were trying to take down with the Tentacle, and he killed the front half of it, then our follow-up unit wouldn't kill the Grandfather Fay. But that kind of illustrated it perfectly there, where he came in with the Pokey Stick. It's kind of protected this way. Interesting trade. All right, who's up next? You know what's going to happen here? Tentacle Smash. Look out.
This requires my largest official hat.
I should have look at this deck a little closer. I can't remember what their removal suite is. Like I assume that they're playing either Vengeance or they're playing a
Another day in the field.
Minimorph. I just can't
I'll scout ahead.
can't remember what it is if either of those. But going to take the open attack now that we have this this tentacle that's growing in size. We have the Expanse's protection. We need to try and just build up an OTK for it. So, it's the unfortunate way to have to do it. I really don't like having to get in front of stat-based removal for this, but you know what they say. It is what it is. Another Buster Shot. All right. Not the end of the world. Curious if we'll get a good Twisted Fate out of these. It's like, is this how in we're going? Are we really going to be like Unforgiven Colding this turn? It's like if we drop the Unforgiven Cold, we can still like trade for Gnar with the Twisted Fate. Not not a sequence I was really expecting today. But let's see. It's a real bummer if this Gnar gets through in combat. Like, it's such a shutdown if we get the Unforgiven Cold and we're able to stop him from getting the Pokey Stick. Get in there, Steve.
You're bluffing.
All right, not bad.
Lady Luck is smiling.
Lady Luck is smiling. Let's get in here. Maybe this Twisted Fate will flip this game. I don't suspect that's the case, but we were getting, pretty close to the kill. And ooh, wow, just a Wandering Shepherd on its own.
You did one yordle portal.
Sounds kind of positive for us. He just doesn't have units in hand. Like, you usually don't equip the Wandering Shepherd, but I'm a little perplexed by that one. I guess if you just have like a bunch of them, that would make sense. Like if you have 2 or 3 in hand and you just have to get them on board. Wow. Overpassing 4 mana there's pretty big. We got Nagakaboros ready to party. It's more like the Darken Harpoon is ready to party. That's what it looks like this game's about to come down to.
Success gets you noticed around
What's
here.
Twisted Fate at? He's up to 6. That's a lot, man. You gotta give that some respect. I'm curious if we can't just take down the Yordle Ranger. Like, we have to block it twice, but then if he just doesn't have any way to stop Ibaros. It's a little sketchy going up against Bandle City. But I'm curious if that's not going to be good enough for a win. You can tell I'm ready to block, bro. Oh, our attack token. our
Not my first gunfight.
Let's see how's that goes. Let's go. Uh-oh. Are we going to do it? Are you going to do it? Are you ready for this? Are you squeezing them cheeks over there? So much potential out of this one. So much. I don't know. It doesn't feel super safe. The way that he's been playing this, it feels like he's probably kind of primed and ready with a vengeance, but he should also be just like pretty far away from actually killing us. So if this goes wrong, we might have some opportunity still.
Son of a...
Illaoi. Illaoi is probably the realistic way to go about this, but look at this. We got the lethal just lined up and ready, right? Fuck. Lame, dude. Lame. Alright, what else you got for us? Again, it should take him quite a while to kill us here. This isn't a deck that has like big, high-powered stuff in it. And so, kind of feel like if we just drop Nagakaboros next turn, we'll have a pretty decent safety net here. And even if Nagakaboros fails, like if his last card is another Vengeance, he's not going to be able to kill us this turn, and we still have a million cards in hand. And Twisted Fate on board that's about to flip. Oh, Twisted Fate, you just got a lot more interesting with the Eye of Nagakaboros turning up. All right, let's see what we can do. I would rather have all of the Twisted Fate draws happen next turn, so that we get all of the cards onto his board as we're looking to start making the attacks here. So we'll save the eye for next round. He's gonna flip on our first draw, then we'll get the 2 cards right away. Get him, Steve.
Wow, this game's heating up.
This game's heating up. Be a lot cooler if I have Nagakaboros was was a burst, but can't complain too hard. All right, so blue card rolls in. Now we get to play another card because that was really fast. Ooh, Expanse's Protection.
Life is too short for fear.
Got him. Good job, Steve. Well done. Wasn't expecting you to flip today, but that was. I wonder if that was gonna be on the opponent's bingo sheet, right? Play Vengeance on Ibaros, play Vengeance on Nagakaboros, and then get killed by a flipped Twisted Fate. I doubt it. I doubt that's what they were expecting to see on the day. All right, next battle. Whew. Yeah, that Tristana deck, I like to flip through what's happening up at the top of the Masters leaderboard on occasion. It's actually kind of like relevant at this day, right? It's as you get towards like the end of the season and you see the top of the leaderboard and it's like, oh wow, look, what am I sitting in third and hasn't played a game in 3 weeks? Like it's not as useful then, but as you're looking in a space like today, and there's a lot of people climbing up and what they're doing, as you see people kind of like rush in with the aggro decks, and then people try and combat that a little bit with their various control decks, it's kind of a more reasonable time to look at it. And that Tristana deck is what's kind of running through the popular things right now. All right, so what do we got here? I'm actually pretty tempted to just pick up the Harpoon. This is Elise Gwen. This is going to be a very aggressive base deck. If we pick up the stat point, we can start to block spiders, but that's probably just a little bit too greedy. I'm looking at just picking up the Bakai. We'll trade out a Tentacle here. Then next turn, we'll get the free Tentacle off the Watchful Idol, be able to hit it with the Eye of God, and then also get a second Bakai on the board. So we don't want to predict. I don't want to lose the one that we have. Let's throw one down now, see what turns up. Don't want the Eye of God. Don't really want any of this stuff. We're starting to need our bigger cards at this point. I could see an argument for Watchful Idol, but the rest of this stuff I'm not really excited about. All right, Bakai number 2. Give us something to do. The Hired Gun isn't crazy, but I think we probably just want the Furious Wielder here. We're going to have a 4 attack Tentacle next turn, assuming nothing goes wrong. And if he plays Gwen, being able to strike down Gwen is a pretty powerful place to be. But here, now that he's got this Battlecaster on board, pretty hyped to just attack with everybody. If he's starting to get trades, then he's the one that's starting to lose out. All right, all right. And it's a bird. That's not Gwen. Oh, and he just passes? Oh, that has to feel terrible for him, right? That has to feel terrible.
I'm always up for a rounder.
All right, so let's see what happens. We're going to blue card. The thing that scares us at this point is going to be Ravenous Flux, right? And I'm not entirely certain the amount of... the amount of...
If only she could see me.
that kind of thing we're going to see here. Let's be real. We need to do this first. If we do this first, we don't have any damage on our Tentacle. The thing that would be like absolute disaster mode for us is if we like get damage on the Tentacle, try to Furious Wielder after, and then he has the removal in turn for it. So this should be a little bit safer. Now the new fresh question is, do we even bother attacking with the Tentacle? And I don't think we do. So here all of his units are higher quality than the Bakai, and then they're even higher quality next turn, as he has that potential for the Battlecaster. So I don't want to get into combat just yet. Alright, well, not super ideal. Let's see how much he adds to the board. We probably just got to drop a Furious Wielder at this point. The Battlecaster is going to turn out to be too much. So if he's got a Ravenous Flock at this point, it kind of is what it is. There's not a lot we can do about it. We can't play around it at this point. We can't just take a million damage here. And so I think we want to block the Fearsomes instead of the Crimson Pigeon. Because if our Tentacles get reset, I think we still want to be able to block that unit. Ooh. Nice draw there. What if we just pass at this point? I guess the Watchful Idol is safe. But I like being able to get into this next turn. And this gives him an opportunity to add some more scary units to the board. This is good. We can get the Battlecaster out of here. Not attacking with the Tentacle. I don't want to trade it with the Pigeon. And then as it stands, we should get a pretty strong Unforgiven Cold next turn. What is this thing? They bring back units that had died. Okay. Well, we know we're safe now. I guess we got a rally on top of the deck, so we know everything that's coming here. But we just need to not die this turn. We'll kill with Nagakaboros next turn.
Sewing mends the soul. I shall need
Curious if we couldn't have gotten Nagakaboros down here. You could see him get lit up on that turn, but
nothing to fear.
it feels like we're just gonna die if that's what happens here. All right, so that shut down a couple things. Block his 4. Now he's in a space to where he has to draw a Decimate or a Nox and Fervor. So, not a terrible space to be in. Like, this is as good as it can go against these really aggressive Noxus decks. So, does he have potential outs? The top deck can get the win, sure. But if he's drawing, to a 25% chance to win, we should be in a pretty good space. And we got him. GG. Well done, Bust. Give him a pat on the back. All right, good stuff. Let's jump into that final battle. Game 8 with the Worms, the Tentacles coming down. Christian Slater and his Tremors coming out to battle. Not bad, not bad. Whew. You see those rear guards come down, and you know you're gonna be scrapping. All right, looks like a game has been found. Let's see if it just crashes again. There we go. We're getting game noises. Swain Twisted Fate. This is another one that's not super ideal. They have a lot of ways to take down your tentacles as they grow and grow, and so not the premier matchups we're really looking for. But we'll try our best. It's not to say that it's unwinnable. Just a challenge, And it's not a bad start. I've got the the Eye of God to try and generate out those units, the Eye of Nagakaboros to refill a little bit. We can certainly do stuff with this hand. Alright, aggro time. We're getting them. I like to lead with the Bakai here. The way that this is likely going to go is we're just going to drop the Eye of God onto the Bakai and open attack. It's going to depend on if he has House Spider or not. Now that he has House Spider, we can look to potentially switch away. Still don't think we really want to. No, we can't risk playing into Ravenous Flock, and so we'll let that attack go, and then we'll swing in with our friend here. Make sure that we get the Tentacle in the back, and then if he Ravenous Flocks after this, fine. This is strikes me as a terrible block. Make it rain's fine. Say that. So I can't imagine that you would really save up a Ravenous Flock when you have this spider on the board, but that makes sense to see it happen that way.
Like a fish in water.
All right, well, we're coming for you, Zap. Sure. Just got to try and grind it down. Tough to do. Tough to do. It's a tall order, but trying. Now we get our friend Kayn on board. He's decent against the House Spiders. he's had worse combats before.
Yes, yours.
But this, kind of shows what we're trying to pull off here. Is we know things are going to go a little bit dangerously in terms of these tentacles. This gives us a little bit of a chance to try and... Holy shit, he just gave up? Oh. Oh. Take your victories where you can get them. I'm not certain. Like, was he really just going to get ran over by Kayn there? And that was why he gave up on that one? Was he really counting on the Make It Rain to hit Kayn and that be his path to victory? I don't know. Apparently he was. But he just gave up on it there at the end. And so, not a bad set of games. And again, what this deck is really looking to focus itself against, we didn't play against a ton of it. We saw actually quite a few just bad matchups today. But it's looking for, if it's something that has units in it, if it's an attacking style deck, you want it to be kind of the mid-rangey numbers. Think of a deck like Elites that's just putting a bunch of stats onto the board, and you're able to interact with those stats favorably. They're just not super aggressive, and you can come in and interact a little bit and manage. Or you're looking for the more vengeance-y based removal decks. And so you can look towards, say, like Darkness, any of the Nora decks that don't have Noxus in it. You can even start to look towards the Rise decks not being terrible. The Seraphine-based decks can be pretty decent as well. And so it's looking to kind of like fit into that kind of middle space of the meta, because then as you advance yourself up towards things like Feel the Rush, you're just not fast enough to stop the kind of true control decks. And so if they're coming at you with this combo of like Harsh Winds and Three Sisters and Vengeances and all that stuff, then it starts to be, it's like, well, you're kind of too mid-rangey. And so you can get out in front of those decks and get your victories if you have the really aggressive starts to where you have a Watchful Idol into an Eye of God into an Illaoi. But it's not a super high win rate space. And so whenever we talk about decks like this as to where it's, kind of much more polarized in its matchups to where it has this specific band of things that it's looking for, that tends to kind of push it to being a best of 3 deck and not so much a ladder grinder. But it's still something that I think is kind of interesting. One of the big reasons I've been really looking towards Illaoi, there's actually 2 big reasons I've been looking towards this, is number one, I'm looking towards what I call these decks bruiser decks, right? It's not an OTK deck. It's not something that's going to like 18 your opponent with a Papercraft Dragon. I call these bruiser decks as to where you're kind of like slowly building up this big, gigantic overwhelm unit, whether or not that's like Illaoi or Kayn or Pantheon or Varus. And I just don't have a lot of experience with these. And so, in terms of like muscle memory, as I call it, I think this is quite good for me as an exercise. But then also, I'm looking at kind of like a best of three lineup as to where we're able to play an Illaoi deck, a Varus deck, and a Pantheon deck, and look to just avoid triple aggro. You know, if it comes at you, fine, you're going to lose. But as people are kind of moving towards these more mid-rangey kind of lineups, kind of say an Aatrox Kayn based lineup, if you will, I think it leaves you in a kind of a space to where you're able to ban out their most aggressive deck and then have good matchups the rest of the way. And so I think it's kind of an interesting best of three mechanism, having access to the triple bruisers, and I have to get the experience and the muscle memory to play these style of decks when that thing turns up. And so that's why we're interested in Illaoi and Kayn. But outside of that, I do think it's still pretty interesting. Kayn, you know, we have no interest, no desire to draw him for free. It would be cool if we did, but we don't want to play all of the bad cultists, so that's kind of nice here. And then I think if you kind of take the next step and look at Kayn and the cultist as being their own faction, instead of thinking of it as something that where you have to activate the draws for free, then you do pick up this really nice suite of cards between the Forsaken Bakai, Momentous Choice, Expansive Protection, Furious Wielder, and Unforgiven Cold that can really kind of make up for the missing space coming out of a lot of other decks. And so, good stuff. Good set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. And so, hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way. I had a good time watching. So, this is Busted Me. Thank you for being here.